Notes from Greenelsh, number 158. Give to help others and yourself. At the high school where I teach, all students are required to serve in the community for at least 20 hours in order to graduate. Some of my students view this requirement as an obligation. I try to inspire them to see that it's actually an opportunity. We are all blessed to be a blessing. Giving back helps others, and just as importantly, it helps you by fostering empathy, care, kindness, and appreciation. People who have a relationship with God benefit even further. Whenever a believer gives of themselves, God fills them with more of Himself, which is the greatest blessing possible. God encourages you to give not only from your abundance, but also from your need. Here are a few examples. During a drought in the time of the prophet Elijah, a starving widow and mother used her last oil and flour to feed Elijah. God blessed the woman by continuing to miraculously supply her with flour and oil until the drought ended. Later, He even saved her son's life. Another example is centuries later, Jesus commended a different widow. Wealthy people threw in large amounts at the temple treasury. In contrast, a poor widow gave just 2 small copper coins, worth only a few cents. But hers was a greater gift, for it was all she had to live on. She trusted that God would provide for her. A third example, before Jesus was crucified, Mary poured expensive perfume on Jesus' feet and wiped it with her hair. To Judas Iscariot, who later betrayed Jesus, it seemed like a year's wages were wasted. But for Mary, any price was worth it to convey her love for Jesus, to thank Jesus for resurrecting her brother, and to honor Jesus for the sacrifice He would soon make to save the world. A fourth example, after Jesus ascended to heaven, believers worked together as a church to share what they had and to proclaim God's love and salvation. In the process, they made sure anyone who had a need was taken care of, even if it meant selling land or houses to do so. And a final example. Years later, when believers in Jerusalem were in need, the Apostle Paul reminded believers in Corinth of the blessing of giving. He wrote, "And now, brothers and sisters, we want you to know about the grace that God has given the Macedonian churches. In the midst of a very severe trial, their overflowing joy and their extreme poverty welled up in rich generosity. For I testify that they gave as much as they were able, and even beyond their ability. Entirely on their own, they urgently pleaded with us for the privilege of sharing in the service to the Lord's people. Remember this, whoever sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and whoever sows generously will also reap generously. Each of you should give what you have decided in your heart to give, not reluctantly or under compulsion, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to bless you abundantly, so that in all things, at all times, having all that you need, you will abound in every good work." Jesus multiplies whatever we offer and increases its impact. When a large crowd of 5,000 men, plus women and children, were listening to Him teach, the day grew late. The crowd was in a remote place, so the disciples urged Jesus to dismiss the people so they could find food and lodging. Instead, Jesus received 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread that a boy offered. He gave thanks to God, and he had his disciples distribute the food to the crowd. Incredibly, everyone ate and were full. In fact, there were 12 baskets of food left over. Amazing! Through Jesus, God meets you at your point of need. He takes whatever you are willing to offer, and he multiplies it to abundantly satisfy your need and the need of those around you. He does this not only for your physical needs, but for your emotional and spiritual needs as well. Jesus, God the Son, gave up everything for you. He stepped down from heaven, became a man, took upon himself your sin and the sin of the world, and was killed on a cross. Because of his humble obedience and sacrifice, God exalted Jesus by raising him from death to life and restoring him to heaven. Now Jesus intercedes for believers in heaven and will return soon to reward believers so they can reign with him forever. So joyfully give of your time, of your talent, of your treasure, and within your tasks, to the point that you feel it, that it costs you something, and that you are changed by it. All giving helps others, but sacrificial giving also helps you. It opens your heart to become more like God in his benevolence, his grace, his love, and his mission of reconciliation. God is always giving, whether you give or not. Yet the greatest blessing to you and others comes when you fully participate in his giving. It widens your capacity to love. It helps you see and interact with people the way Jesus would. It forces you to cling to and rely on God to work through you, to guide you, to provide for you, and to renew you. I encourage you to face each day with a motivation not to get more for yourself, but to give more of yourself. God, as the ultimate giver, will always reward you beyond anything that you submit. When you lay down your life for God and others through the grace and power of Jesus, God exalts you and transforms you into the best that he designed you to be. Go for it.